Hey everyone, welcome. So glad you're here. This is a special re-edit of a great conversation from the Sip&Talk podcast, and it's brought to you by our friends over at Micky. We're going to boil down all the key takeaways for you right now.
All right, let's get right into it. The big topic today is the future according to AI, and we're going to use NVIDIA as our lens. But this is about so much more than just one company. We're talking about how AI is shaking up, well, everything, from the biggest philosophical questions about what it means to be human, right down to the nitty-gritty of whether our power grids can even handle it all.
So here's how we're going to break this down. We're going to start way up high, with the huge philosophical questions AI is forcing us to ask. Then we'll bring it down to earth and look at how society is changing. From there, we'll zoom in on NVIDIA, the company that's pretty much powering this whole revolution. And we'll wrap up by uncovering a really interesting and maybe surprising idea about where the real demand is hiding. Okay, so first things first, let's get a little philosophical. Because you have to understand, AI isn't just a new gadget or a faster computer. It's something that fundamentally challenges who we are and where we're headed. And this quote really nails it. Thinking of AI as the modern fire is such a great way to put it. Like in the old myths, fire brought incredible progress, but it also brought a ton of unforeseen problems. AI is the same deal. It gives us this incredible power, but it also brings up that age-old question, now with way more urgency. Who should be in control of this thing? And this is where you can really see the fundamental difference between us and the machines, right? Our intelligence is all about common sense, reading the vibe in a room, taking something we learned over here and applying it to a totally new problem over there. AI, on the other hand, even the most mind-blowing AI, is still a hyper-specialized tool. It's an absolute beast at processing data in its very specific lane, but it just doesn't have that broad, flexible, gut-feeling kind of intuition that we do. Okay, so this brings us to a really crucial point. We've got these incredibly powerful systems, right? The big question is, how do we make sure they're actually working for us and not towards some weird, unintended goal? That's the entire field of AI alignment in a nutshell. And look, as these things get smarter and smarter, and they're doing it exponentially, this isn't just some dusty academic debate anymore. It's becoming one of the most critical challenges of our time, for real. So let's take all that big picture thinking and see how it actually plays out in the real world. Because the stuff we see every day, the headlines about jobs and skills, that's really just the tip of the iceberg. Underneath the surface, there are these massive hidden structural shifts happening to our whole society. And this chart just perfectly captures the paradox we're all living through. It's wild, right? On one side, if you're in an AI-related job, your salary could get a 50+% boost. But on the other side of that coin, some studies are saying that AI could potentially replace a huge chunk, like a tenth of the entire US workforce. It's especially hitting those entry-level jobs. So you've got this technology that's creating incredible wealth and incredible risk, all at the exact same time. So in a world like that, what's our unique advantage? Where do we humans still have the upper hand? Well, it's in all the stuff that's really, really hard for a machine to copy. Things like making complex decisions when you don't have all the data, or using emotional intelligence to lead a team. And maybe most importantly, having the critical thinking skills to look at what an AI gives you and say, wait a minute, does this actually make sense? Instead of just taking it as gospel. But hey, it's not all doom and gloom and job disruption. I mean, look at the incredible opportunities here. This is a real story from a school in Texas. They brought in an AI system to create personalized lesson plans for every single student, and their test scores went through the roof. They jumped from the 31st percentile all the way to the 84th. That is what AI-powered equity can look like. It's like giving every single kid their own private tutor, scaled up for everyone. Okay, so if AI is this massive, world-changing force, who's actually building the engine that makes it all run? That question brings us straight to NVIDIA, a company that has managed to build one of the most ridiculously powerful competitive advantages, or moats, as they say, in modern business. And the whole story really kicks off with this one number, 70x. Early on, AI researchers figured out that if they stopped using regular computer chips, CPUs, and switched to NVIDIA's graphics chips, or GPUs, they could train their models 70 times faster. Now, that didn't just speed things up, it fundamentally shaped the economics of AI. It made massive, complex models actually possible to build. That one shift is what lit the fuse on the AI explosion we're living through today. So you might be wondering, where's the real money in all this long term? Well, it's not just in the initial training of these giant models. I mean, sure, that's a huge upfront cost. But the real ongoing value,
We're talking like 85% of the market is in the day-to-day use of those models. Every time you ask a chatbot a question, that's called inference. And that continuous demand is the bedrock of NVIDIA's entire business strategy. But here's the real genius of NVIDIA. Their biggest advantage isn't just their hardware. It's not just about having the fastest chip. It's their software platform, CUDA. Millions of developers around the world have spent years building their entire workflows, their tools, everything on CUDA. So for a competitor to come in, a company would have to literally rebuild everything from scratch just to switch. That's not a moat, that's a fortress with cannons and a dragon. Okay, this brings us to our final section, and this is where we really get to the heart of the matter. We're about to pivot away from all the talk about software and chips and get down to the hard, physical limitations of the real world. And this is where a completely different, maybe non-obvious investment idea starts to emerge.
Think about it this way. The race to build the fastest, smartest AI chip is super exciting, right? But it's also incredibly volatile. New tech comes out, new competitors pop up. But what if we looked for the one thing that everybody needs? The one piece of demand that is absolutely non-negotiable and is limited by the physical world. What is the one thing this entire AI revolution cannot, under any circumstances, live without? The answer? Power. Pure and simple electricity. And this number is just mind-blowing. In 2023, for the first time in history, the world spent more money building data centers for AI than it did searching for new oil. Let that sink in. This is a monumental shift in where global capital is flowing. It basically confirms that data is the new oil and electricity is the new refinery. So where do you find that rock-solid, can't live without it demand? It's not just about spinning up more power plants. It's about the boring but essential stuff. It's upgrading our ancient electrical grids so they don't collapse under the strain. It's building out massive solar and wind farms because all the big tech companies have promised to go green. And it's developing crazy new liquid cooling systems to stop these AI data centers from literally melting. This is the physical bottleneck. This is the hard stuff that you can't just code your way out of. And that really leaves us with this one final, fascinating question to think about. NVIDIA's own CEO says that the cost of artificial intelligence is going to drop towards zero. So if compute and intelligence become cheap and abundant, what becomes the truly scarce and valuable resource? Well, it's all the physical stuff that's hard to scale. Power, land, water for cooling, the raw materials of the real world. And that's a wrap. We really hope this re-edit gave you a solid framework for thinking about AI's future. The full deep dive conversation comes from the Sip&Talk podcast, so be sure to subscribe to them for more amazing discussions like this one. And of course, a huge thank you to our sponsor, Micky. You can find a link to their YouTube channel down in the description. Thanks so much for hanging out with us.